Okay, so we got an interview here with Jim Rogers, and this took place in 2014 sometime. Here's the point, folks. You can see the title. Jim Rogers, Russia and China about to announce the end of the U.S. dollar era, right? Now, all the con men are coming out and saying, they've been saying this for years, right? The dollar's done, the dollar's done. Folks, you got to wake up once and for all and realize these guys are all charlatans. Many of them are mentally ill. Many of them are complete con artists, and a good amount of them are both mentally ill con men. I mean, aren't you sick of hearing this bullshit? The dollar's at what, 12-year highs now, right? All the currencies are collapsing. This is a man, Jim Rogers, who's telling everyone, well, China and Russia, they're going to unite and destroy the U.S. dollar dominance era. These are two currencies that are a joke. First of all, the yuan, the Chinese currency, is not even freely tradable, and the Chinese don't want to put their currency out in the currency markets because they know it'll be destroyed because it's not a stable currency. Their economy is not stable. Their economy is not self-sustaining. They rely too much on the USA. If you don't understand that, then you've been listening to the gold doomsday con artists too much. And let me just state for those of you who may not be familiar with who I am, you better take notes from what I say, because I'm not wrong too often. And I can guarantee you I'm right a lot more than any of these fucking morons that you hear in the media. I've got the track record, and they don't. They've got the agendas and the bias. I don't. So meanwhile, Jim Rogers wants to promote Russia. Now this is a man, and you can just look it up. You can just archive. This is the only good thing about YouTube. Aside from all the bullshit, the avenues that it may give all these lonely people, that have no fucking lives, that spend all their time on YouTube. YouTube, of course, is the biggest modern day portal for con men and disinformation, misinformation. But aside from all that, you can go on YouTube and you can archive the interviews of these morons. It serves as a record, you see. The only issue is that when guys like Jim Rogers and his fellow clowns, his fellow gold-pumping doomsday morons open their mouths, you really can't determine, it's very difficult to determine when they were talking because they say the same shit over and over again. Point is, folks, is this. If you do the research, you will find Jim Rogers has been telling everyone now for 3, 4, perhaps even up to 5 years how he wants to buy the ruble, how he's been buying the Russia stock market every year. Just look it up. 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, right? And probably even 2015. He's been saying how he's been buying the Russian stock market and the ruble. And let me tell you why, folks, because he does the same thing that Mark Faber and these other numbskulls do that don't really understand what's going on in investing. What do? They wait for something to go down. They say, oh, it goes down, I'm going to buy it because it's going to go up. It goes up, I'm going to sell it. That's the nincompoop, numbskull approach that they use. They don't look at anything else. He thinks because Russia's going down, it's a good buy. Well, buddy, I hope you got limitless money because you've been buying and buying and buying, and the ruble has been doing nothing but collapsing. Of course, he's also talking about all this time how he's buying commodities, right? 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14, because they're down. They keep getting destroyed, and they're going lower. Jim Rogers is clueless, and I just wanted to point, I could go through a whole list to show you, but I want to focus on this thing here because you can look it up yourself. Now, I want you to listen to this little numbskull interview. He's talking about these two nations, and, Russia is arguably perhaps not even a first world country anymore. They're certainly entering into a depression, without a doubt. But anyway, let's go ahead and listen to what Rogers has to say. I mean, these guys are so stupid. The U.S. is the strongest economy, the most powerful in the world. There's no doubt about it. Listen, folks, I don't like the bankers. I've been more critical than the con men that you trust. The con men who are fooling your ass. They're saying one thing and doing another thing. Let me tell you something. The facts are that the U.S. is the strongest economy in the world, the strongest military, the strongest technology, best universities, best school system, that is, university system, Anyone who talks about this, you have to be a numbskull. You're uneducated, you're uninformed, and you're being conned by charlatans who are making money off of your ignorance. And the fact is, by the way, most of these doomsday gold people, their lives suck. They're in shambles. They don't have a pot to piss in. Their lives are shit, and they have been shit for a long time, and so they're rooting. They're rooting for the U.S. to go down and the dollar to go down because they think that that's going to make their lives a little bit better relative to the people, the haves, right, versus themselves, the have-nots. That's the reality. That's the sad, pathetic reality behind these losers who have been fooled by these gold doomsday con artists. So let's go ahead now and listen to what Rogers has to say.
Of course, ever since 2001, people haven't been that keen to invest there. What's Brazil after as far as Russia is concerned? Then we'll switch the question.
The main thing Brazil wants from Russia, and Russia wants the same, they would like to form some system to compete with the World Bank and the IMF and the U.S. dollar. Because Brazil would like to dominate the Western Hemisphere for a couple of hundred years. They felt they should.
Wishful thinking or...
Now, of course, how in the hell does Jim Rogers know the main thing that Brazil wants? Ask yourself that question. How does he know the main thing that Brazil wants? Do you think that Jim Rogers is involved in the closed-door roundtable talks between the Brazilian government and the Russian government? Of course not. He's speculating. If he were honest, if he were sane, he would say, well, I don't know. This is just my opinion. But no, he thinks that he knows. Perhaps Brazil wants military weaponry from Russia. You don't know what they want, you stupid fucking moron.
Won't happen anytime soon.
As long as India is involved, it probably won't happen anytime soon. But Brazil and China and Russia could certainly easily put together something to compete with the dollar.
Oh, okay. So Brazil, China, and Russia could easily put together something to compete with the dollar. Is that so? Have you seen the real? Not just lately. The real has been in a free fall for a few years now. Have you seen the ruble, right? The currency that Jim Rogers has been telling you that he's been buying over and over again, year after year, as it's been collapsing. Of course, the Chinese yuan, it doesn't trade, but the Chinese, they know to peg their currency with the dollar, right? So let's take a look. I'm going to show you these currencies here in a minute, but let's go ahead and listen to this fucking moron. And by the way, let me just say something, folks. The reason why I'm being so critical of Rogers, is that if you're going to be positioned as some expert and plastered all over the TV sometimes, you got to be very careful about what you say. Okay? You got to be careful. You need to come out and be more honest and be more realistic and stop putting out conspiracies and misstatements and just stupid bullshit, which is what Rogers and all these other gold-pumping clowns do.
The United States dollar, Kevin, is a terribly flawed currency. I mean, I'm American, I hate to say it.
Oh,
but we have serious problems with it. The world has serious problems.
Okay, so it's a terribly flawed currency. Okay, so let's take a look now at the dollar. We'll take a look at the ruble. We'll take a look at the Brazilian real, okay?
U.S. dollar becomes confetti. Any number you want to make up. They're printing U.S. dollars fast enough to turn them into confetti.
Here's a chart of the U.S. dollar versus the ruble. So in other words, if you want to see the strength of the ruble, you flip the chart upside down, right? This is an opposite chart. So in other words, this is showing you the strength of the dollar versus the ruble, okay? Showing you how much the ruble has been destroyed over the past 20 years or so. And this is a similar chart. This is over a 7-year period. And then finally we have one of the ruble versus the dollar. Okay? So you can see the ruble's been destroyed. Look at that. Look at that. Complete collapse. So he's saying the dollar's a flawed currency.
They're printing U.S. dollars fast enough to turn them into confetti.
The ruble, it can unite with the real, the Chinese yuan, the Chinese, which have their currency pegged to the U.S. dollar, right? Let's take a look at the real now. And here's the real versus the dollar. As you can see, over the past 4 years, It's down by nearly 50%. Now that's a currency collapse, folks. It's probably going a lot lower, right? You know, it's funny, all these morons, they talk about the dollar's collapsing, the dollar's going to zero, right? They don't talk about the real collapsing by 50%. They don't talk about the ruble collapsing by more, right? They don't talk about these things. Folks, wake up. You're being lied to. You're being conned by charlatans. Wake up. You know, it just really pisses me off. People, stop being stupid. Just tune out to all media, all ad-based content. Anybody that's selling advertisements or pitching bullshit, gold and silver, doomsday, just erase them from your lives. They are losers, insane lunatics, and con artists.
We need something else, and maybe Russia, China, and Brazil can put together a competing currency.
You know what's funny about this? Russia is collapsing big time. It's February 2015. Brazil is collapsing big time. And both of these countries have been collapsing for quite some time now. Brazil, probably a little more than Russia, although Russia's been in the shits for quite some time as well, but we've gotten kind of used to that. But China hasn't yet collapsed, and I'll guarantee you it's going to. China's going to have big problems, folks. It's coming, okay? And chances are it's going to coincide with Russia's problems and Brazil's problems. This is a man here, Rogers, he's telling you that Brazil and China and Russia, they can unite, have a currency to defeat the dollar. What? Everyone's begging for the dollar. They want the strongest, safest asset in the world, the U.S. currency, U.S. dollar-denominated assets. That's what intelligent, sophisticated investors want. They're all flocking to the dollar, as they always do. They don't want some fucking third world Brazilian dog shit. There's some bullshit in China. You people understand the type of fraud and scams that are prevalent in these nations, in China, in Brazil, in Russia? Do you have any inkling? Do you understand? If you think fraud is rampant in America, and by no means is it not, it certainly is. We're talking about magnitudes, much higher magnitudes in Russia, in China, in Brazil. Do you understand that? Anyway, folks, listen, you need to stop listening to all these con men that are in the media and all these idiots and these lunatics, because that's all the media feeds you. They feed you con men, lunatics, and idiots because the media wants to make money, and they make money from their advertisers. Their advertisers, especially if you can imagine the financial media, is Wall Street firms, insurance companies, mutual fund companies, right? So if the media provides you with unbiased experts with amazing track records, such as myself, then you're not going to need Wall Street's help. You're not going to need mutual funds and insurance companies, are you? Because you will be guided into great profits, great insight from someone like me. This is why they don't want to have real experts in the media. They want to have numbskulls, broken clocks, and lunatics that steer you into the gutter. At the same time, they make money promoting their name, their books, their bullshit. Wake up, people. The media is dog shit. The media is the devil.
If I had come on your show every week for 100 weeks in a row and everything I said to you was wrong, would you keep me on your show?
Jim Rogers used to work for me, and since then I don't think he has been such a great investor.